Hello.
Hey, can you hear
Hey.
me?
Yeah, I can. How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you, man?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Okay. So, what's going on with today's lesson? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was kind of mulling over what Slippy files would be best to review for this lesson because I think I have like more than a few, and I think it would probably be beneficial to do them in multiple lessons. But I wasn't sure what would be the most immediately beneficial to start with.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of hoping to get your thoughts on it. I can kind of describe to you like the themes of the sets of Slippies that I posted in the Discord chat,
Sure.
and you can tell me which one you think like sounds like it'd be more useful to go over at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first one is Slippies of me versus Albert.
Mm-hmm.
I think the so that was Falco Dittos, and like the gist of my kind of feelings, like the takeaway that I had from it was it seemed like he was just like a lot faster than me in like really crucial moments. And his execution and punishes were a little bit better on average. Um, and I think that sometimes I could be a little bit like I was misjudging or not correctly assessing what options were best for me to do at the spacing I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And partly because he was moving so fast, it felt like I was being pressured into making these decisions more quickly than I was comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that like afterwards, I asked him like for some feedback, and he was saying that like you know he thinks that the only real thing he can remember from our games was just that it seemed like he I was kind of fishing a lot for options um, instead of like trying to like create openings for myself. Um, I wasn't totally sure I understood what he meant by that, but I think the fact that I felt like the takeaway for me was that he was really fast kind of lined up with that a little bit because if I think he's really fast, then like I'm going to be probably more likely to be throwing out bad options or panicking and doing things that don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then from his perspective, it's going to look like I'm just fishing.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think that's kind of like how I reconciled like what my takeaway was with his. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that how you feel about like that description. But the other set of slippies was me versus a peach, where I
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was kind of different in that it felt like I had much more control of the neutral uh, for the most part. But the peach was like very like the takeaways for me were like the peach was really good at counter hitting me
Mm-hmm.
out of any openings I got in neutral, like naring me out of my combos or down smashing me out of my like combo starters. Like if I try to like hit her with a down air in neutral,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then like she would convert really hard, and I don't think I was converting nearly as well. And I was having a lot of trouble ledge trapping, which I think was a big part of why I was having trouble converting. Um, so I don't know, like to me, like the peach one felt like it seems like it should be more immediately like addressable.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like it feels more like maybe more peach specific, uh, uh, information that I'd be learning if we went over that. But the Albert one maybe would be more of like I could there might be more general, broadly applicable ideas I could learn from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure. They both sound pretty interesting, to be honest. We could try going over both, or like see. I'm down to just start with the Albert one and kind of go from there, but it's up to you,
Yeah.
really. Which, like, they both sound about equally interesting to me. So, like, whichever one you feel like you would rather start on, we can start. We can start there.
Okay. Yeah. Let's start with Albert then. The
Okay.
I think I posted two games. You can the first one I think I barely win, and the second one he kind of beats me solidly. Uh, yeah, we can if we can go over both, that'd be great.
All right. All right. Let me get the screen share set up for you.
Cool.
Oh no, you're both red.
Yeah.
Okay. I hate that. All right. Which red Falco are you?
I think I'm the non-light colored one, like the normal red.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so is the screen share working?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, great. I'll just watch for a second.
Sure.
So you're the one beating up the other Falco right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see the names on the bottom. I like didn't see that for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so far looking pretty good.
Yeah, this is the game that I win, but the next game.
Okay. I'm just generally liking the way you're playing the matchup so far. Okay. Okay, this is one small thing that I noticed so far. There's like a few tiny things, but then this is probably the... It's like right here when you have this situation, and he's at a super high percent like this. You really shouldn't be like... I mean, okay, so obviously you shouldn't be like running and shining anyway. Like in this position, you have a super low percent, so you have like a lot more to lose here than he does. And so you want to play a lot more like conservative and kind of like hold center and maybe put out some jabs and just kind of make it impossible for him to like get out of the corner. Whereas going for this shine is playing him kind of on like equal territory when he's 154% higher than you.
Right.
Because because look, in this situation, then you end up in the corner because of that, and then he just happens to get one neutral win, and then you have no double jump, and he's starting his combo, and he could have killed you. You know, he might even kill you out of this. So it's kind of like, it's just something to keep in mind, that when somebody's at really high percent, like, going for even these shines is, like, it's unnecessary. Like, he kind of has to do something to you, and it's going to be really hard for him to do something to you without dying. Like, kind of like that. And just don't forget about jab. Like, jab knockdown stuff at higher percents is really, really good. But not...
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, but not rushing with it. Like, kind of just being defensive with it. It's really hard to deal with. So just, like, basically, if he's at super high percent and you're at low percent, make him make something happen. It's okay to even be, like, a little passive in that situation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not sure why you went for a shield grab there.
I don't know if I meant to, but...
Okay. Okay. Nice. I do feel like you've gotten a lot better since the last lesson in terms of like not being overly passive in general, like dashing back out of all your lasers and stuff like that.
Yeah. It was literally because of that lesson that I've been like focusing on it.
It feels a lot more balanced. Like this feels so much better. And like
I appreciate it. Like
and stuff. Okay, I mean honestly, that felt like a pretty good game. I'm gonna go to the next game and see what I see.
Okay.
on that one. And then we might go back to the first game, but I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Did this Sakurai angle or something?
It did, but I think I still should have been able to CC shine him, but I just was slow.
Oh, yeah, you had time. Okay, I was like, that
Yeah.
was weird.
Yeah, I actually got him with CC shine a lot, but that was like the one time I messed it up and I ate like 80% for it.
I see. Okay, wow, good stuff. Yeah, don't be doing this grab here, though. This was really bad. Like, right here, you can do anything here, you know? Like, you could, I would even say, like, forward smashing here is better than, grabbing. Like, grab is what you do in this matchup when either the other Falco is really bad at DIing, or you're just the only option that will work. Or maybe they're just holding shield in the corner and you want to forward throw them off, or back throw them off, you know? But, like, if you're in a tech chase like this, going for this grab is, like, you're just completely giving... Like, the fact that you got a back air here is... It's not like, oh, I can... Like, it's not like when you do this up throw, you know you're going to get this back air, you know? Because he could DI out, and he just happens to DI directly into it. But, like, it doesn't... It's not necessarily going to work, and you really would... Like, if you can, try to pick pretty much any other option there.
Okay.
Like, you could have done a running shine, or up smash even. Like, maybe not up smash, but I doubt he'll DI this out. Maybe if he thinks you're going to, like, dare or something. I would just recommend trying pretty much anything else here.
Right.
Because the grab is just, like, you're not going to get that much out of it.
Right.
Like, that was pretty much the best possible case out of the grab. Was, like, you get, like, a little bit of damage. Okay, that was good. What was this roll?
Oh, that was an accident.
What were you trying to do? Wave dash where?
I think wave dash towards him. Wave dash towards him shine, I think.
Okay. Yeah, if you get caught in shield and the other Falco is doing a laser pressure like this, 99.9% of the time, you want to just disengage and, like, full hop away or something. You're not going to be able... Like, if you wave dashed in here, you would have gotten hit by this laser and probably gotten shined.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of times you can get away with the wave dash in shine, or, like, the running in shine, when they're getting really kind of over-aggressive with their lasers. And a lot of times it's when they're expecting you to move backwards, and a lot of times that happens more out of, like, a take laser, and they're kind of, like, expecting you to, like, dash away. So they'll kind of, like, overshoot on their laser because they think you're going to move away from them, and then you can just run under shine or wave dash under shine. But if you get hit and you're in your shield and they're laser pressuring you, you're almost never going to be able to get out of that with, like, a wave dash in.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I guess, like, if they're lasering in place kind of at that distance, like, this makes almost no sense.
Yeah, and I think there might not be too much to get out of these games. I'd be willing to go over them a little bit more. A lot of it is very small things. Like, your general game plan is actually really good in this matchup that I can tell. And a lot of it is, like, a lot of the reason is there are... So Albert's obviously really good, you know? So, like, there are a lot of situations where he just will slightly outplay you. Or, like, the word that sort of is hitting me is kind of like... You're lacking a little bit of, like, ruthlessness, and it's, like, not necessarily in, like, the way you're comboing. It is there a little bit, but it's more about, like, you... When situations get a little, like, muddy, you don't really have, like... So, like, basically, like, when the situations get complex, a lot of times you're down to kind of just, like, play the situation with a move that, like, might work there. Like, it's kind of like you're down to treat situations as scrambles when they're not necessarily scrambles. Is what it kind of seems like. Is that it's kind of like, like a situation where you're, like, at a slight disadvantage, and you can either play out the mix-up or escape. You're less likely to kind of choose to just escape the mix-up and reset it, which is funny because this is kind of like almost the opposite of, like, the previous problem.
Right.
And
yeah.
and so it's like, I don't want to be like, I think, like, the direction you're going in general, and, like, the sort of, like, pretty, like, your play is pretty evenly mixed now, and I think that's good. And so now it's more about, like, these subtleties, and I can find a couple spots here. So, like, if I was in this spot right here, and he's doing these lasers on me, the chance that I would actually try to hard read his nair here is, like, super, super low. I would most likely, if I drop and he hits me with this laser, and then he does this approaching laser and he hits me, I would probably try to get out of the way. And it's like,
Yeah.
the reasoning is that, like, I would rather play a mix-up here where he has to hard read my escape somehow, my full hop, you know, like, going to the side plat and, like, wave landing back. He can't really, like, catch me directly. And so he kind of, like, you're in a disadvantageous position. You don't, like, need to play it out. If he had happened to, you know, laser shine here instead of this nair, then you're just gonna end up in a big combo. Or if he does, like, a perfectly, like, late down air here, you're just gonna end up in, like, a combo. And so it's kind of like, you recognize that you're kind of at, like, a disadvantage here. Like, this is obviously a disadvantaged position, but it's like, you don't, like, I would have rather you just shielded this and sort of taken the pressure than tried to, like, hard read this with, like, the crouch. One nice thing about, like, trying to escape is, like, if you try to escape and you're too late and he down airs you, that's obviously, like, an opening for you because you're in the air. And so it's kind of like, if you try to escape, the nair can work, it can hit you, but, like, just escaping in these positions and sort of, like, not playing a bad situation is pretty important in the Ditto in general to, like, there's just, like, a lot of chaos in the Ditto because of, like, the lasers and, like, how slow Falco is. And so, like, I think a lot of times it's really important to focus on sort of mitigating that chaos and kind of playing to the situations that you do understand and that you think you are at an advantage in. And Falco is also really good at kind of stalemating himself. So if you're in a situation where you don't really like it, you can fight it out sometimes, but I don't really like that you just sort of, like, decide, like, oh yeah, I'll play it out, you know, like, instantly. Because, you know, if this was, like, a character matchup, you know, like, instead of a situation, like, let's say this is two characters, you know, would you really want to, like, play this matchup? You know, if this was an entire matchup, which was, like, you trying to read his nair so that you could CC shine it, you probably would just pick a different character. Like, that's not a very fun matchup where he can, like, mix up his timing and he has a bunch of choices, and you're kind of just really hoping that he, like, nairs in, you know. And even when he did nair in, it's really hard to hit the exact timing because his nair can kind of hit you at a bunch of different timings, and it's just not a situation you really want to like be in too much, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I think I was kind of tunneled on, like trying to not disengage from every single scramble. That was the theme of the last lesson.
Right,
So,
exactly. That's why I was saying, like, I don't really want to, like, I don't want to make, like, a huge deal out of it that, like, you need to learn how to disengage, you know? Like, because clearly that's, like, your natural strength is knowing how to disengage. All I'm saying is that, like, I'm not necessarily, like, I'm not criticizing you for how you're playing in these matches, because, like, what you're doing in these matches is basically exactly what I told you in the last lesson, and like the improvement is extremely obvious. And so like I'm happy with everything you're doing. It's just that I'm telling you kind of like, okay, and here's where you can kind of, you know, dial that back a little bit in spots towards like what your natural tendency is. But like I'm really happy with these two matches. I think these are like great comparing them to like our previous lessons.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I do think it actually felt like it helped a lot too. Like even just the short hop down air out of like tech chase situations. Like if you get knocked down, just doing short hop down air as a wake up option. That I feel like I don't think it really came up in these games, but I've noticed that feels like it helps a lot too.
Okay, so what happens here? Okay, so he just catches you there. That was just a really good laser by him. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of these situations are just like very subtle outplays by him, or in this case, like, you just kind of, like, miss, like, the dash back here. Oh, you jumped into this?
Yeah.
And so it's like, there's nothing super general to take from this, you know, except, you know, just slightly space better and, like, react and dash better here. And so it's kind of like, it's not, like, a huge thing to really go over. You do lose a stock for that.
Yeah.
Like, that's why the Ditto is, like, extremely dangerous, you know? It's like a samurai sword fight. And so, it's like, you just need to be very careful that, like, there's no... I've noticed this the more I've played this matchup in particular, is, like, there's very little room for being kind of, like, loosey-goosey. Like, there are, like... In other matchups, there are spots, especially something like, maybe, like the Fox matchup or something, there are spots where you can kind of gamble on, like, maybe I can kind of hit him, and then if he drills me, I can kind of, like, ASDI out of the drill, or, like, SDI out of the drill. Like, there's a little bit of stuff. This matchup is very, like, nothing's happening. Oh, one guy just zeroed out the other guy. Nothing's happening. Oh, you made a slight mistake, you're dead again, you know? And so it's like, it's very, like, you have to be really, really, like, careful in this matchup that even, like, little tiny small openings or things that you really wouldn't think are, like, a big deal are a big deal in this matchup. There's not really any such thing as, like, not a big deal. Yeah, like for example, like, it might feel like, oh, okay, normally, you know, when Falco grabs me, it's not a big deal, and he just goes for this down throw, and you're kind of like, okay, that's not huge. But then, like, before you know it, you're in this spot, which is basically like a guaranteed death if he does it right, you know? And it's like, it's just, you die so easily to Falco. And so, yeah, there's that spot where it's like, I've just noticed a lot of times when he has laser control, you kind of play into his mix-up, rather than like, oh, that was pretty good. But yeah, a lot of times you're down to like play into the mix-up rather than like you don't really want to move forward into someone who has laser control on you. The only time you want to do that is when they seem really, really like they're trying to cross you up and like go really far with their stuff. It's like what happens right here? It's like you just kind of like a little bit late or something on your shield here. Oh, you try to dash out of the way here. So yeah, so here you tried to dash, but you didn't get it, so he got the back air, and then you die for it. And it's like, these are like very tiny things that you can almost basically just chalk up to like him being like a little bit cleaner than you, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But like in general, outside of like a few cases where you're like kind of down to play a disadvantage, these are like, this is good. Like, it's just like, so stuff like this, it's like you go for the shine, and then he hits you, and he keeps his combo going. It's just, the matchup is so brutal that, like, any little error on your part can create, you know, a death sequence.
Yeah.
So I would say that, like, what's happening here is not actually a huge problem. After like watching it and like knowing your like skill level and like how you've been improving and stuff like this, I would not be unhappy with these dittos at all. And I would say that just sort of like kind of continuing what you're doing and sort of just trying to get cleaner at situations and being like the more things that you don't just kind of happen to get hit by. Because this match, I think there's like one opening that he did that was like really legit, where he like caught your landing with a laser and then perfectly nailed it. But most of the openings in this are kind of him just sort of doing like a spacing where it's like it is punishable, but it's kind of hard to punish, or it kind of like requires subtle spacing or like a very specific reaction, and you'll kind of like slightly miss that or be a little late or whatever, and that's kind of where you're getting hit. And so like that's more of an issue of like general improvement and just being really good at sort of like seeing situations and being like, oh, this I can counter with this, you know, and being like very like cut and dry about like more things, like not everything, but like more things of like getting your hardest punish out of stuff, you know, not going for the grab tech chase. You know, if somebody does a really obvious reactable back air, you don't get hit by it. If you're caught in a really bad laser spot, he can't capitalize off of it. Those like few, like there's not like one overriding thing here that's like bad, and I think that's really good because that shows a lot of improvement. It's more that there are a bunch of tiny things to work on. So,
right. Yeah.
That's kind of my review of these matches.
Yeah, that kind of lines up with what my kind of general feeling was about it. It felt like it was...
Yeah. Go for it. Go for
it just felt like he was going to be, like, or, like, he was more familiar with a lot of, like, little situations and, like, was more decisive and quick to execute them than I was.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was just, like, half a step behind him a lot, like, in a lot of little spots.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that helps me in the Ditto a little bit is that, like... No, so basically, like I said, there's a lot of chaos, right? Because it's a really complicated matchup. There's a lot of crazy things that happen, and you're trying to minimize that as much as possible, but inevitably stuff will happen. And so, like, sort of mindset that helps me is like, okay, let's say we both are just equal skill, and we both just kind of like press our buttons, and neither of us is really like winning the mix-up super hard. The punish in this matchup is so important, like. If we both just, like, roll the dice over and over, and we get an equal number of shines or, like, openings on each other, I want to be, like, the winner. Like, I really want to be the winner on that. Like, in terms of, like, hard punishes. Like, opening to punish ratio is so important in that matchup. Because it's, like, a ditto, right? And so it's, like, you can't win by... Like, there's some matchups where it's like, well, they hit harder than me, but I win neutral more, you know? But in the ditto, you can't really rely on that. You really, like... In the end, a perfect Falco Ditto would come down to, like, who gets the most off their opening. And so what I sort of try to establish as, like, a base game plan is that, like, no matter what, like more so than neutral when I'm playing the Falco Ditto, I'm focused on hitting really hard. Because it's kind of like, if I can hit harder than them as, like, a basis... then any sort of outplaying I do will be like a big extra. But if I'm not hitting harder than them, if I'm hitting less hard than them, then even if I'm outplaying them, it's not really going to matter that much, you know? And so, like, this matchup is very much like, I'll kind of be playing, I'll kind of be, like, keeping myself safe, I'll kind of do some lasers, and then if I see a spot, I'll, like, try to, like, late dare it, and then I just, like, I'm already completely focused on, like, hitting really hard. Like, even when I'm playing neutral. And that's not true in most of the other matchups. You're kind of focused on winning the neutral, and then you kind of transition into hitting hard. But in the Ditto, it really is, like, you gotta hit really hard out of everything. Because a lot of the times in the Ditto, you end up in these weird, chaotic situations where it's like, I down air you, but you jump into it. And then you shine, but your shine, like, misses me because I drifted back. You know, like at the low percent where you kind of, like, land out of the down air. And then it's like, oh, then this guy, so his shine misses me because I drifted back, but then he just down airs out of shine. And then I shield it, and then I down air out of shield, and then he jumps into that down air and shines me, you know. And a lot of times it's like, it's the person who can recognize the spot and then get the opening and then kill out of that comes out on top. And so... it's really like Like, okay, I think I pretty much went over it, but that's just like the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think so. I guess the next question for me is like how. So I have some thoughts on how I can improve my punish game, but
Mm-hmm.
um, so I guess I can talk about a little bit about like what I do, what I think would be an ideal practice way to, or ideal way to improve my punish game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I'd love to hear like what you think would be a better way to go about it, or like anything you might suggest that would help to improve it. But like my general thought process is like I should have like certain basic bread and butters down in a lot of like fundamental common situations in every matchup. Like, it's the standard like shine downer at 0, and then like, shine to like up B if they're like 100 and they DI in and so on. Uh, but then also I think everything outside of that, like those common bread and butters, is just going to be like situational punishes that like I have to like notice when I mess them up either in friendlies or in VODs that I review, and
Mm-hmm.
then think about practicing them in Uncle Punch if they need to be practiced in Uncle Punch, or like go into friendly sessions explicitly with the goal of like practicing hitting those punishes. But I think, I don't know, like it doesn't feel to me like that's an extraordinarily quick way to improve my punish, especially if I don't have a ton of time to
Mm-hmm.
practice. Um, like I feel like someone like Bobby Big Balls, or like a player who gets to like, play like 8 hours a day or whatever. Like I feel like it makes a lot of sense to me that they're able to like generally execute their punishes much more consistently and cleanly.
So just for
Uh,
reference, I actually don't think Bobby is very good at comboing, because while he hits some insane combos, I'm not going to deny that he makes ridiculous clips and stuff like that. If you actually look at his like ratio of like hits to kills out of his punish, it's pretty low. Like he doesn't actually kill out of a lot of his punishes.
right,
And
right.
so like I just not a huge fan of using him as like an example of like a super good like combo Falco. I would say like Magi is somebody who's a lot better at it.
Yeah, yeah. I think I guess what I was like more referring to was just like his consistency in executing the punish that he wants to punish, like that he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because I mean, I think I agree his punishes are not the best, but in my mind, the reason why they often are not good is because his idea is bad and not the execution.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I see what you're
But for
saying.
me, it feels like my execution sometimes is really a big problem for my punishes.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. So in my experience, the way to improve that is literally it's just playing a lot. And like I don't normally say that. There's not a lot of situations where I think that's the case, but like anytime I need, so like I would say that when I'm trying to improve my punish and my specifically my execution during my punish, those are the periods where I play the game for the most hours. And I feel like even if I just like if I do like 2 days in a row, like this is like pretty rare for me, but I'll kind of find an opportunity and I'll play like 5 or 6 hours for like 2 days in a row, and my punish will like become so many times better. And so that's just kind of like I think that's the quickest way to improve. I think you can improve your execution on your punishes through, practicing over a longer period of time. But I feel like a lot of times like that sort of like repetitive stimuli, like a lot of times it comes down to like how many times you hit the same zero death in like one day, and especially like grinding the Ditto or something. Like I think in the Ditto specifically, there's a lot of situations where like let's say you start a match off, you laser him twice, you hit a stray back air, and then you hit a late down air, and like the number of combos out of that are like certainly like you can do a lot of combos, but there are like certain DI patterns that happen a lot, and being able to like within one day hit the same combo like 40 times, is really like that sticks in your brain a lot better than hitting the same combo once a day.
Right.
So I think that's just that. Like, if you want to get better at it fast, that's what it is. Is just find a couple days or one day and just play like a lot of hours in like one matchup, like the Ditto, and just try to move as fast as you can during your punishes and hit as many as you can. And that, in my experience, is the fastest way to improve that. I don't like that answer, but like, I can only give you the knowledge that I have, and in my experience, that is like, I think grinding a lot of hours, even for a short time period, not even like necessarily like for a long time, is the part of the game that requires that the most is execution on punishes.
Yeah, I see that.
And the thing is, once you kind of have it, you're not really gonna lose it. So it's like the hours are really worth it. It's just an unusual thing where it's more about how many hours you can put within like a day rather than like spreading it out.
Right. Like one concentrated session as opposed to like spread it out across like a week or something.
Yeah, like just like a long time, because it's kind of like if you spend, you know, it's like if there's like a sheik practicing tech chasing or whatever, and if you practice tech chasing for 5 minutes a day versus, you know, you spend 2 days 5 hours a piece practicing tech chasing. Like, I've done stuff like that where like I just purely did like one sort of tech chase situation or whatever. It allows your brain to kind of completely autopilot and just like build in this like these like few specific habits of like timing and stuff like that. So it's like, if you practice for 5 minutes, you know, or 10 minutes, it's really conscious practice. And that's good for like every other part of the game. Like, I always advocate for like very conscious practice and stuff like that. But in this one particular part, you really just want to like forget that you're playing the game and have your hands execute the same thing over and over and over. And then a lot of times when you're in a real match, your hands will just be like, oh yeah, I know this. Like, I literally do this, you know, while I'm watching videos or something like that. So
yeah,
that sort of automation is just something you can only really get from like a lot of time within a short period, in my experience. So that's what I think.
Okay, yeah, that I think that makes sense. I haven't really thought about doing it all at once in like a long session. I think that might help for sure. So I'll see if I can give that a shot.
Doesn't necessarily need to be one long session. You know, it could be like 2.5 hours in the morning and 2.5 hours at night or something. But I would recommend just doing it in like the same matchup and kind of zoning out a little bit. Like, not trying super hard to win every neutral interaction and stuff like that.
Right.
And it helps if the person is a little bit worse than you, so that you can kind of get openings without really worrying too hard about it. And I think it's just like an experience of like, aha, I'm hitting this guy, like, oh, here I go, I'm moving around, you know, and just kind of like getting that in your brain over and over and over and over and over and over within a short period. Just kind of like, I don't even know the exact mechanism or why it is like that. It's just my experience.
Yeah, no, I think that does make sense, though. I could definitely see that is the case. I think it in a lot of things in life, too, not even just Melee, like, but if you just put in a lot of hours into something it's in a row, it, like, definitely forms, like, very, like, deep neural connections in your head that you, like, that are really, like, deeply ingrained.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we can move on to the Peach stuff for the last, like, 20 something minutes. If you're okay with that, or if we could keep going, we could look a little closer at the Falco matches, or we could switch to the Peach ones. It's up to you.
I mean, I'm fine with looking at the Peach ones. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So let's see. Oof. Man, you're getting so much better. I love to see it. Just like these dashbacks are so clean, and the way you're moving forward on the lasers. Like, so you did this dash in here, and it's base the shield, and it's so nice. And so that, like, okay, so this is how I can tell you're getting so much better. Is so right here, instead of dashing back right here, you dash in because you recognize this spacing. This
Yeah,
exact
yeah.
spacing. So you dash in, and then you dash away, which would be good for baiting the dash attack or something. So that's really good. Then you approaching
Right.
laser. So Peach moves back. You approaching laser again. Now you're at this spacing. You realize that you don't need to do the dash in because you're already kind of immediately threatening right here. So you just
Yep.
dash back instead and then come in with this late down air and then you shine wave dash away. Like, I'm just so proud watching that. Like, this is just such a good interaction. This is awesome.
I'm glad you liked it.
And then
I did very much think about exactly the spacings I was at when I was doing those dash dances. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's so good. And then so you hit this late, you come out of the way, like you're not like super like aggro, like I need to murder Peach here or something. You're just kind of waiting, and then you get this laser and the up tilt and shine out of it, and it's like, that's so clean. But you missed your combo.
Yeah.
But it happens. The actual
I think
opening there was really, really good.
for sure appreciate it.
So one thing that's kind of interesting against Peach here is that, like, maybe it's a little bit of an ambiguous height, but there are a lot of spots where, like, Peach... I don't blame you for going for this shine. It's just something to kind of keep in mind is that, like, you hit Peach out of her float here. So she doesn't have her float left after after the up tilt. And so she has kind of, like, a very scary situation, and it feels like, well, I want to make sure I hit, like, the combo on Peach, you know? But, like, there are a lot of situations. This one might be a little bit of an exception because she might be able to do something weird like double jump waveland off here. But it's just good to keep in mind that after you land this up tilt on Peach, let's say you're on, like, FD or something, or it's in the middle of the stage, you don't immediately need to, like, come up and hit her out of it. She's kind of in, like, a really bad spot here, and you might be able to get stuff like if she double jumps away and you full hop back here, and now she has no float and no double jump, and she's kind of in a bad spot. So a lot of times against Peach, it's going to be, like, more positioning based than anything else. And going for these shines are fine. I just wanted to mention that it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I don't think I ever do that, like wait for her to exhaust resources. So I think that's a good note.
Okay, that's good. Wow, okay, that was good. Good up there, yeah. Get caught with that, okay. So I'm a huge fan right here of just not fighting this right here. I would either just... Man, this is such a weird spot to be in. I guess this is fine. I normally, when I say is when Peach is on the ground here, I always tell people to full hop out of the corner against her because she doesn't have a punish for it. But, like, she was, like, on the platform here, and you didn't want to get hit by it, and so I think going for this down air is fine. It's more like you were just in a bad spot after the down smash, so...
Yeah, yeah.
So what was this down air for?
Can you play it again? Sorry.
You get this, miss this, and then you go for this down air.
I think I just reacted late to him shielding.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Okay.
to him wave dashing out of the shield.
Because, so basically you have this super good plan, like, from the very beginning of the match, and you just have to be really, like, certain, like, you know your plan is good, of, like, that sort of laser dash dance spacing that you were doing. There's no reason to stop doing that. Like, it's not like he's shown that he just destroys you for doing that. So there's no reason not to just continue doing, like, the reason why it's good is because you can just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like that dash dancing. Like, it feels like you kind of did it, and you're like, oh, that was clean. But then you kind of... It's like those patterns are good, therefore you can just keep doing them. It's okay. You don't. It doesn't have to be like a mix-up.
So you think I shouldn't have, like, jumped off with, like, a laser and then immediate up tilt next to him in the first place? I should have, like, come down and then done a laser dash dance sequence from, like, a little bit further away.
Yeah, I mean, you know it's good. You know, like, why? What factor has changed that is causing you to jump in with the laser rather than just play the laser game that you know works with the dash dancing? You know.
Yeah, nothing changed.
Like, he hasn't provided you with information that the laser dash dancing is bad somehow.
Right.
And yeah, this is so, like, right here, just full hop. Like, there's no reason to try to fight this out and short hop into the corner and read a laser. Like, oh, you hit a laser here? That's great. Now you're stuck in the corner against Peach. You know? If you don't hit the laser and then she smacks you, now you're off stage against Peach, you're probably going to die. And you do.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I know I keep saying this, and I don't want to be too good for your ego or whatever, or bad for your ego, but, like, I'm a super big advocate of, like, being imbalanced really often, in the sense of, like, you're imbalanced in one way, and then I think when you try to come back the other way, the best thing to do is to, like, imbalance further the other way, you know? Like, you're all the way to the right, and then people are like, wow, you should come back to the center. And then you come back to the center, and you go through the center, and you go to the left, and then you kind of have to, like, push it back to the right. I think, like, that's the best way to learn. And so the fact that you're a little, like, you're a little too down to play situations, I think is, like, a totally fine position to be in, like, currently.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, see, here we go. And now like, instead of fishing for, like, a down air here and kind of not following the plan, you're just keeping her cornered, and you're doing this sort of laser dash dance game, you know, and looking for, like, an opening. Look at that. Like, that was super good. And, like, if you come off of this situation, I have this weird feeling that you're not gonna leave this situation and then just go back to that same neutral game. But I feel like you should, because it's good. Oh, USD. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, like, sometimes I get clipped going for those dash dances, and then I, like, get into my head that it's not a good idea. Like, I don't consciously think that, but, like, unconsciously, like,
yeah. Ooh, good. I don't really like being super aggro like this with Peach, because the thing is a laser here would cancel her double jump just as well, you know? So, like, if you shot a laser right here, like a low laser, then Peach is going to have to float at this height, because her double jump is just going too high. Either that or she has to, like, tank the laser, drop and float. But either way, you're going to be, like, removing an option for her by shooting this low laser here. Whereas, like, putting your body out here is great, except for the fact that she can just, like, wait. You know, like, she kind of just waits. Like, Peach has the ability to, like, wait off stage a lot. And so that's why I think the best thing is to kind of just laser her here. Like, whenever Peach is in the air, your brain should always go to the idea that this is a game of resources. Whether she's below off stage or high off stage, it's always like she has a float, and she has, to a lesser degree in this matchup, her Toad. In some matchups, the Toad is a little bit more important. But in this matchup, it's mostly that you want to get rid of her float and her double jump if possible, like with your lasers, you know. And so you're like, oh, I got rid of her float. Oh, I got rid of her double jump. And her double jump will refresh if she grabs the ledge, but her float won't. And so if you can get rid of her resources before she grabs the ledge, or before she so you can basically prevent Peach from going high in a lot of situations with Falco's big jumps and your lasers, and that's what you should be doing. So, like, anytime she's off stage, what I usually do is I don't just shoot lasers, like, willy-nilly. I kind of wait to see whether they're gonna float or double jump or whatever, and then I try to hit them out of that. So something that's really common is you hit them off, they double jump, then they'll, like, fast fall to some height, and then they float, like, right here. And then I'll just jump up and I'll laser it. And then they're already stuck to either go to ledge and they might get mixed up, or they have to air dodge, and then I can hit them off stage again and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay, that's good. You're kind of back into the zone. One thing that you can do a little bit more against Peach is sort of like fade back down airs, kind of like in front of her shield. So, like, right here, this is actually a perfect example of it. So you're doing like part of this mix-up perfectly, or part of this pressure, and if you did the other part of it perfectly, it would be really, really hard to deal with because you're doing the spacing well. Right here, you can do a thing where you kind of like, you can do like a fade back down air, or like a dash in, like drifting back down air. And you can kind of hit this corner on Peach's shield with your down air. You could even do it right here. She has a really tiny grab range. And so you can kind of just throw out a down air right here. Honestly, even if you don't hit her shield, it's pretty good for you to just kind of like throw a down air in her face, but you can space at a range where she can't really punish it. So it's like you kind of want to down air, so the tip of your down air hits right here, and you're drifting back, and it kind of creates this extra pressure where, like, if she is doing these shield grabs, you can punish it with your sometimes dash backing here, but putting the down air there prevents. It's not really prevents; it just adds a lot to the pressure by sort of like adding a variation of like the ways you can pressure her, and that down air is like. It's really oppressive. It actually is like kind of miserable as the Peach to deal with. That if you lasered here and then you just you jump and down air straight up and you tip my shield as you drift away, I have no counter to that, and you get to restart your laser situation, and you also did a bit more damage to my shield. And so this is perfect, obviously, because you baited the grab. But I'm just saying that is like another option that I'm not really seeing you use. That's like really important to pressuring Peach.
Yeah. I think it would probably also be good if the Peach was trying to like shield laser and then wave dash forward for whatever reason in that spot too, right?
Yeah, like it completely prevents her from like any forward motion. And it's really frustrating because a lot of times like you'll do like the laser and then you hit that dare on her shield, you kind of fade back. She's in a spot where she doesn't really have any options. You could, you can down air her again if she wave dashes out. So she doesn't really want to instantly rush in because you might just be down airing again. But if she doesn't instantly rush in, you're going to get a laser and get another down air pressure.
Right.
And then on this edge guard, the same pattern kind of comes up where you jump off stage. But you're not, like, you kind of want to remove the idea from your head that you're going to get these nice flying down airs on Peach, like high off stage or whatever. You're not going to get these. Like, against any sufficiently good Peach, like, you're not going to jump out and hit this dare or whatever on Armada. Like, he's just never going to let it happen. And there's no reason to even try it. Just stay on stage, get these lasers out. If you had stayed on stage, you could have been sitting here and sniped this double jump, and now he's falling with very limited options.
Yeah, I think in my head, like, I really want to make the comeback, which I feel like against Peach feels like it's even more important to me because she's so difficult to kill, like, in a war of attrition. And then if she touches me, she can do like 60 damage. So it feels like a comeback is really like important if I'm like down a stock. So that's why I feel like when I'm down, especially, I go for these offstage jumps more than I should.
Yeah, so the thing with Peach, and I think that like kind of going for like comeback options can be good sometimes. But in this matchup in particular, Peach's speed, like, she has low speed. She actually can't really catch Falco. So there's not really a lot of situations where you'll kind of get hit chaotically. You can kind of, like, it's like, if you think about it, it's like it's kind of the same thing as the Falco Ditto, where like if your opponent is at high percent, doing things to you or trying to do things to you becomes incredibly dangerous because they could just die out of a lot of things here. They can die to like jab up smash. They can die on a back air mix up. They can die off of like a down air. They can die off of, a laser down smash or something. So there's like a lot of, or forward smash. There's a lot of ways they can kind of die here, or even like up tilt up air or shine up air. And so there's like a lot of situations where when you're in this position at like these percents, you should not be looking at it from Peach still has 3 stocks, and I am already at 49%. That's not like the right sentence to be thinking. And that's a really easy sentence to think, but it's like a thought that kind of comes from like a lack of confidence in the matchup, or like in your abilities to play the matchup. And so it's like, what you want to do in this situation is, remember, stocks are the only things that matter in this game. Percent in the end, I'm not saying okay. What I mean is that, like, in the end, what matters is who loses their 4 stocks first, so your percent isn't relevant to that. Obviously, it should change how you play the game depending on the percent. But what I'm saying is the game doesn't end until you lose all 4 stocks. And so the correct mindset in this position is, I'm 1 hit away from killing Peach, and then we'll be even, because we're even on stocks. That is the correct mindset. Is that, like, because if you hit Peach with a combo at like 10%, you could easily get it to this percent. You could easily do way more damage than this if you got a good combo. And so, or you could even get her off stage, and then, you know, she air dodges and you wave dash forward smash. And now it's 2 stocks 49% to 1 stock 0%. So you need to, like, be able to envision and, like, visualize her stocks. Like, if you take this, then you're even, and you can just do 1 combo and be 2-1. That mindset is going to be a lot more helpful than, like, thinking of it as, like, oof, Peach is so good in, like, these long, drawn-out games that if I'm down a stock, I'm, like, big-time losing and she's just dealing percent. Like, that's not actually, like, a real thing if you know how to play the matchup. So this could come from, like, just, like, generally, like, bad practice of how to think about stocks. Or it could come from, like, a lack of knowing how to combo Peach in the matchup. Because, like, I can guarantee you, as the Peach in this position, what I'm thinking is, okay, I have a really small lead, and I just want to play really careful, and I want to try to survive as long as possible, and hope Falco gives me something which will let me extend my lead. What I'm not thinking is, like, oh boy, I'm just going to try to hit him and because I have such a huge lead. That's not what I'm thinking here. I'm going to try to be super, super careful and wait for you to give me something. So if you're playing the opposite game and you're saying, I need to land a crazy kill here, that is exactly what the Peach player is hoping for. They're going to be shielding a lot, they're going to be going for really safe options a lot, and they're really hoping that you get antsy and throw out a kill. So what you want to do in this situation is just laser a lot, try to do your best to stalemate a lot, kind of drag this out, and Peach is going to be playing really careful. The longer you drag it out, the worse things get for her, because at higher percents it's easier to get clipped and die, it's easier to get jabbed and die, it's easier to get laser forward tilted and be off stage and then get lasered, you grab edge and back aired, you know, stuff like that. The danger increases for her as the percent goes up, as the match goes longer in this situation. You'll slowly deal up damage to her because you have lasers. And so when you're in this situation, you should know the Peach is going to play, like, your opponent in this situation has every incentive in the world to play as careful as humanly possible. So you going for sort of, like, the craziness is not like that. This is what the Peach wants more than anything, because this is what gives them that big advantage of, like, oh no, now Peach is beating me up, you know? Whereas, like, if you hadn't gone for this, and if you had just sat here, and instead of going for this down tilt, you did the same plan that, ooh, Slippy. You did the same, you did the same thing you'd been doing, where you lasered here, and then you did a down air in place and you retreated, or you did a dash dance away. If you dash dance here and Peach had shielded and tried to shield grab you, you probably could have landed like a down air here, or a late back air, or a lot of things that could have potentially killed. And even if they didn't kill, it's not like you were ever risked. When Peach comes back or you shark her out of the air, you can just do it again.
Right. Yeah, I think you're exactly right that I'm not thinking about the matchup correctly. I think I've, like, convinced that it's really hard to kill Peach if I don't, like, find, like, a flying down air off stage.
Mm-hmm. Also, there's a small thing, I'll let you continue talking right now, but don't forget at high percents about laser jab, or jab in general. So you had 2 opportunities here to kill Peach. One is right here, you land this laser, you can laser up smash, or laser jab back air, and then you have a second situation right here where you power shield this and you do the wave dash. Okay, so you didn't really have that right there, so never mind, you're a little slow there. Okay, so you hit this and you're like, oh, Peach is still surviving, and it's like, it's okay. Like, you're just gonna kill her out of this as long as you don't let her get back to stage like that, you know? So a lot of it is, and if you jab here, she's dead. I think, okay, the high percent jabs is a big one. I want you to, yeah, like that. I want you to, like, anytime your opponent is past, like, 130 or whatever, or 125, I want to see you jabbing way more. and not like
Right.
aggro jabbing. It's like a very safe poke. It's kind of like a laser, and it's like you can use the jab to like basically make the matchup way better for you when your opponent is at high percent. So it's like, yeah, as long as you play this game, we're like, okay, so look at this. So remember before, okay, yeah, we're almost at time for the lesson, but I just want to finish this really quick. So it's like, remember before you were thinking like, oh man, like I gotta get the kill because I'm already at like 40%, right? And it's like, okay, so you killed Peach. Let's say you had killed her before, and this was, 2 stocks to 2, but you were at 40-something%. And then she comes back. Look what you do. You can just play a safe version of neutral, and you hit her, and then, look at this. You get in an advantageous position. You're playing safe still. I'm not a huge fan of these big cross-up nairs you're doing, but it's okay. You're playing generally really safe. You get some damage. Oh, what do you know? Peach is at, 78%. You start going for like crazy attacks right now, because you're probably getting desperate again. You're probably like, oh no, I'm a whole stock behind, and it's like, no, you're beating her up. like these things only happen because you give Peach potential ways to hit you, and so yeah, like if you just keep playing this safe game, look, you're winning neutral every time. There's nothing to be afraid of. Okay, that was good.
Yeah, I think I just become afraid that, like, what if I get clipped by any hitbox she throws out in neutral?
Right, but you're not gonna, because she's too slow. She can't do that. Fox can. Peach can't. So it's kind of funny, because think about it. Think of all the desperation, all the bad ideas, all the ridiculous number of times you've overcommitted, and this is last stock. It's still last stock. What if you had just played safe the whole time without giving her all this stuff? Yeah. And then this was just a bad recovery, so you died. You were fine here. You just side beat to edge. She had nothing she could do.
Yeah, no, I think I missed my jump.
But so it's like when you hit Peach, a lot of times you'll actually hit Peach harder than she hits you, because a lot of her hits, she nairs you at 60, and you go flying off stage and you side beat a ledge and you're fine. Whereas if you tap her at 60, you might go up in the air and down air her again, and up tilt and down her again, and tech chase forward smash, and then she tries to recover, and you're lasering her recovery, and then she's in a bad spot, and she air dodges, and you back air her again, So it's like, I think it's just your perspective on this matchup, of like what Falco can do to Peach, and what Peach can do to Falco. And even if you just look at the capabilities of what you can do in neutral and what you can do in punish, if you're down a stock, that's fine. Like, that's okay. Because she's just she's the one who has to work really hard for it, and sort of changing your mindset on that, I think, will probably help out a lot.
Yeah,
and sure. I could go on, I could talk about this for a lot longer, but we are at an hour and you have to get back to work.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate all the help, man. I'll try to take that into mind for sure.
Yeah, and you've been doing a great job improving. So just keep it up, because this was the first. So yeah, just full disclosure, this is the first time I've watched it where I've been like really impressed. The other times I've been like, oh yeah, he improved, but this is the first time I'm like, wow, like that's some big improvement. So that's really good. So yeah, just keep up whatever practicing you're doing, and like sort of take the advice from this lesson and keep implementing it. But you're getting closer. Just keep it up.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it, man. I'll do my best.
Awesome. Sick. Good to hear. All right. Have a good one.
All right. You too, man.
Later.
See you around.